Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and today with Eitan, we are delving deep into the art of knowing who to be and when. This week's energy supports us in striking that balance and also that clarity of how the ego is meant to serve us and how it can hurt us. And by focusing on this week's opportunities, we can have greater clarity on when to lead with my uniqueness and my gifts and my strengths, and when to lead with being a completely empty and open vessel to receive the light in any way, shape, and form. It's a dance that the Kabbalists talk about in different ways, using different examples, different metaphors, different teachings, but this is the week that we're meant to come into our next level of what it means to be that open container for the light, and knowing when to do which version of us is really the art, the dance that helps us strike that connection at all times and in all places. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most practical and powerful tools to navigate the coming 7 days. We do that by gleaning through the wisdom of Kabbalah and offering wisdom and tools that will not only serve you this week, it can serve you any week of the year, any year of your lives. And because we're coming to this peak, actually, we're about to enter the almost final week of this process called the Omer. We're beginning a new book in the sequence of the Torah readings. There's so much newness coming to us. It's really time for us to renew our own awareness of this dance. Sometimes it can feel like a battle, but we prefer to look at it as a dance between the attachment, the letting go, the pride, the confidence, and the feeling completely open and not attached to anything. And it's a great lead-in from last week. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, I highly recommend it, because we focused there on the whole idea of being still, not needing to do or fix or change, and coming really from a place of allowing and creating that space for the light to come in. So this is a perfect continuation, a perfect bridge into this week where the work is similar, but it's also different. Eitan, where should we begin?
I think what's beautiful about this message and this weekly portion, the name of this weekly portion is Bamidbar. Bamidbar referred to in the desert, in the wilderness, and actually the holiday of Shavuot, which we are going to celebrate next week, it's the receiving of the Torah, receiving of the highest connection to the light of the Creator, the dimension of immortality. Where did it happen? In the desert. So, desert, in one hand, represent place of emptiness, place of void of what we call beautiful vegetations and life force and beautiful creation. It's void of that. Desert can be scary. Even the Zohar tells us that somehow desert connects to negative forces. At the same time, the greatest revelation ever could not happen in any other place beside the desert. So one of the main messages of the Kabbalists, that in order to be able to express our own greatest light, which that's the purpose of life, each one of us came to reveal, to manifest, to express unique light, unique energy, unique manifestations in this world that would last. But the prerequisite to enter to that dimensions of flow and manifestation is to be like the desert, which seem to be the opposite of manifestation. In the desert, you don't have any your own possession. You don't have your own territory. You don't have your own thing. So it's the opposite of owning, manifesting, creating, holding on to. In a way, does it represent, I don't know anything, I don't own anything, I don't see clearly any grounding and things that I can associate with, feel good with, manifest. Well, the whole purpose of life is to express unique light, blessings in this world. So desert, which is void, and the opposite of that is I am manifesting my purpose. And if we're really honest with ourselves, when we are thinking about what will make me happy, that I'm manifesting, I'm contributing, I'm adding value, I'm creating something for others, for myself. And in the moment that we feel no energy, no strength, not specific possession or creativity, or at least I'm in the process of, yes, things happening, I'm in the process, we feel weak. When we're manifesting something tangible, when we know something tangible, that we feel, wow, I know that, I'm passionate about it, we feel strong. So we feel weak when we have no clue, we don't know, we don't own, we don't create, we don't attach to anything. We feel strong when we feel closer to manifesting. And the truth is, this is a dance that all of us need to undergo in order to reveal our purpose in life. You know, the word ein comes from the word nothing. Ein, even ein sof, the endless, no end, nothing. The word ani, which is I manifest, I know, I'm confident, I feel the energy, I accomplish something, I'm proud, I feel the strength. So these two words is the same letters, I and nothing. Which in this world, the only way that true manifestation of light and true continuous growth happening, if I'm actually shifting between these two dimensions and not feeling that whenever I'm in that state of desert or nothing or no strength, not confidence, not strong footing on anything, not actually believing that I'm far and disconnected. So how do you transition between nothing and everything? I'm nobody, I'm somebody. And that's what we're going to talk today really is about. Because nobody can escape the illusion of this guy is always a somebody, always have something to contribute. It's not real. We need to always go back to a desert consciousness. I don't own anything. I don't have anything. Actually, I feel nothing. And this is the time which connects to last week's portion, but this is the time that we are actually the most with similarity of form with the light of the Creator. It's so interesting. One of the Kabbalists is asking, why do you call the endless realm Ein Sof or endless? Why do you don't call it a lot of light? Call it a lot of light. Endless means this, it's actually as the word within it, nothing. Nothing with end, with finite. Because those moments that we feel nothing It's much closer to the endless dimension, to the moment I feel specifically something, because that specific is only that one thing. It's already finite. But when I feel nothing, is the closest to this dimension of no form. So another way to look at desert is no specific form. We're constantly striving to have specific form. That's the money that I got. That's the business that I accomplished. That's the wisdom that I know. And then there's in between moment, I don't know. And right away the ego tells me when there's no specific form I'm attached to, or I'm moving towards manifestation, I feel empty, I feel void, I feel less than. But the Kabbalists tell us, allow yourself to embrace desert consciousness, and that will allow the specific light to be manifested, happen. And then right after manifestation, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't attach yourself to that particular form, because specific form, even though it's positive energy, I just helped that person. I just created that business. I just solved that problem. I'm proud of myself, but that speaks specific behavior or the way I help that individual. That's form. That's beautiful. But allow yourself to go back to desert. Desert, form. Form is specific territory. So it's the dance that all of us needs to allow ourselves to go. Sometimes when we feel, I feel not grounded today. What's happening? I don't feel the energy. I don't feel it's a decision. Desert consciousness. Decide that there's tremendous light now. Decide that you're actually uplifted now. Decide that the similarity of form between you and the unformed dimension called Ein Sof, nothing. The realm of nothing is the realm of everything. Of course you need to manifest as the realm of I, but don't stay there.
It sounds so abstract, but it's really such a real life, very modern source of stress and chaos for people. While you were talking, I was thinking about a conversation I had with someone this week that was telling me that she's feeling this crisis of identity, right? That she had built her business around a certain image, a certain focus. And right now in that industry, everybody's being, the trend is to be hyper focused, right? This is the community I serve. These are the problems I solve, and really leading with that. And she said to me, I don't feel that. I don't feel like I'm meant for one part of the population, or I don't feel that I'm especially good at solving one problem. These are my gifts, and I want to serve in what, whoever feels drawn to me, to my energy, to my practice, that's who I want to be connected to. She was really asking me, do I have to give in to, making myself finite? Do I have to limit myself to one group or one approach, or is it okay to lead with, honestly, it was like saying anybody can come to me, whereas everyone else in her industry is saying, no, you have to focus on drawing one type of client. And I feel that voice in our mind, especially when we have a lot of experience in a certain field, when we have a lot of education in a certain area, our logical mind, which we learn from the Kabbalists, is not our soulful self. The logical mind is connected to the ego, the force that we call the opponent, the rationale, based in the realm of limitation. That part of us, the logical part, is always going to pull us to play it safe and to be finite and limited. And that the idea that realm called the endless world is not called by what it is, it's called by what it isn't, really speaks to this, the conversation that I had with this person. But I think something that we all experience regularly is, on one hand, it feels safe and comfortable and predicted to hold on to what we know and who we are and what we've accomplished. But when we do that, we keep ourselves in that small and limited place, right? Yes, you can continue to do what you do, but that, your true essence is not finite, is not confined by accomplishments, achievements, status, titles, and all those things. So part of what I feel as we're going now to, this is the last week of the month of Taurus, which tends also people who are born in this month or have a lot of influence of the sign of Taurus in their chart, they like to stay holding on to the things that are solid, right? They might stay in the rowboat longer, even though they're real close to land, because the rowboat is familiar and safe and predictable. This is the week that we need to emerge from that safe, predictable, even to say, to release the old I, to step into the desert and move towards the new I. And knowing that, sometimes people, I can hear the thoughts of people who are listening saying, well, how do you know if you're supposed to be I or N? How do you know if you're supposed to know who you are and know your value and lead with that, or if you're supposed to be open and like the desert? Usually what happens is when our impulse is to lead with the I, the Kabbalists would say, go with the opposite of that. When your natural knee-jerk reaction would be, no, I'm not, I can't do that. I'm not at that stage, or I'm not ready yet. And that's something that I think the I'm not ready chant in the back of our minds from that force called the opponent is often the thing that prevents us from moving into the next, because we think when we have all the facts, when we have all the training, when we can predict the outcome, that'll be when it's time to go forward. And the Kabbalists say it's the opposite. When you feel compelled to stay back, to hold on, to wait for all the ducks to line up in a row, that's how you know. So a big part of this work is also knowing, in these situations, I'm inclined to avoid stepping into the spotlight because I don't feel that I'm qualified or smart enough or ready yet, and to lean into, to jump. The water's always going to be cold. You might as well jump now, versus when I'm full of my talents, I'm connected to, right? And not in a spiritual way, but in a attached and ownership place of, do they know who I am? This is beneath me, or all the other slogans that the opponent can use on us, to know that that's when to lead into, none of this is mine anyway. I'm open to see, I'm open to what's coming next, not from a place of attachment, but from a place of true desire to detach and to allow the light to create the next step and the next step and the next step. Sometimes that requires what the Kabbalists call certainty beyond logic. It's not something that you can predict. Why? Because your action, your consciousness, your resisting the natural thing for you is actually what's creating what's next. So you can't predict the outcome if what you're doing right now is what's actually creating the next manifestation for you. So it is really a dance, and it's not always easy.
I like what you said, identity crisis. Actually, identity crisis, it's a good space. It's a space of the ain, it's the space of the desert, that they actually say, I do not have specific identity that attach to specific form, manifestations, who people think I am. It's something that I accomplish, it's something that I know. The fact that you don't know, and our body and our ego need knowing and something to hold on to see specific energy manifest itself a certain way, specific money comes our way, specific projects, specific ways, specific beauty, specific wisdom, specific knowing, specific expression, to feel confidence. And here we're learning that, you do need to manifest itself, but those moments of identity crisis, it's a moment of allow it. You're not going backwards. You're actually charging yourself There's a spiritual surgery happening in the unseen dimension called the dimension of the Ein, of no form, which preparing the next manifestation. Actually, when we're learning about the tree of life, 10 levels of consciousness that we came to this world to elevate ourselves from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And actually, in between each level of consciousness, you're touching that dimension called Ein. Nothing. So really, to go from one level to the next one, you have to cross this, call it identity crisis, call it desert, call it unknown, call it wow. It's not exactly something that I'm used to. I'm not as comfortable, I'm not as appreciated. It feels dark to me, it feels foreign to me. Has to be that dimension of Ein. The entrance of the next level in our life has to be kind of a desert. And think for yourself for a second. Let's support our viewers and listener. What is this moment of desert that instead of listening to the ego that can't stand it, why I see them manifesting, I'm not. What is specific example of desert that we want fully to allow and to shift the consciousness instead of it's bad, I can't stand it, how can I feel the energy again, to allow that. So it can be a moment that I don't see where the next work is coming. I feel in the desert, feel in the unknown. I feel not relevant. We all want to be relevant. And there's nothing wrong about being relevant because you can make a difference. But will be a moment you're not so relevant, or at least you think you're not relevant. Are you fighting it? And that will be the ego fighting instead of allowing that nothingness, which is a time that I'm aligned with my true essence, which without form. And the problem is, we don't embrace it all the way. If you would embrace all the way the moment of desert, the moment of I don't have control, I don't have strong footing, I don't see manifestation, I'm in an identity crisis, or more example that you'll give. If I'm embracing it all the way with shift of frame in this hidden light in this moment, because when I see no light, when I see no specific form of how things manifesting, it's the closest to the endless.
What your example, by the way, it came up in that same conversation when a client or a customer leaves, right? Especially when it's somebody that you give a lot of your time and energy to, but you can, regardless of how your profession or what you're focused on now, you can apply the same thing. When something that you depend on or that's a constant in your life goes away, what do? How do you feel in that moment? And we talked about the whole idea that, of course, it can be cleansing to make room for more blessings, for more individuals. Imagine all the time that you spent with that one person or one company, you can give it to 10 other companies now and have that much more, create that much more value. But in the moment, the feeling of something's been ripped from me, right? Another similar conversation I had with someone this week about money that's supposed to come but hasn't come yet. And so much depends on when the money comes in and all the different things that need to happen afterwards. And it's still not coming, and it's still not coming, and it's still not coming. What do you do with that attachment? It's hard not to live in the reality where the money is already in the bank. What are you supposed to do in the gap between, like you said, the space between the level that I'm at? And not that the money is what creates the next level, but that the gap between is often where our most reactive tendencies come out, when it's really meant to set the stage for the most soulful conversations with the Creator and other people. The most deep and transformative moments are meant to come in that gap. And we resist, it's not that we resist it, it's that we allow the fears, the worries, the inadequacy to overtake that gap and miss the opportunity. Of course, the opportunity will come back in another way, shape, and form. But I think this is the idea is to highlight the gift of the gap And when we take advantage of the gap and use it for what it's meant to be, the next level ends up being a manifestation beyond what could have been had we not had that opportunity.
Beautiful. And the other example for me that very often, for me, form means I'm strong. Lack of form or desert means I'm weak. I'm strong, I'm weak. And we defined it as good and bad. Let's define both of them as good. The moment that I'm weak, don't make yourself weak. It means I don't feel specific flow. I embrace it all the way. You are not weak. You are aligned. You are aligned with the source of all good. That's more home than specific manifestation, which we call ourselves strong. I'm doing something specific that makes me feel good about myself. Of course, the goal is to manifest good. But don't allow it to be your home. The real home is the desert. It's the paradox of life.
And how do you know, Eitan, when it's time to move out of the desert? Like when it's time to go back to being of form?
I think you said it. I think number one, it's our reactive tendencies are so helpful in our life because they are teaching us what not to do. So the mere fact I'm afraid just to start, to focus, to manifest, to bring it down is because I'm just too reactive, staying in this undefined, and I'm not going to be judged. I would love to stay in the potential state. So it's actually to go against our reactive tendencies. When I feel so uncomfortable in the void and emptiness of actual doing, that's what I need to embrace that. But when I stay too long because I'm afraid of doing and I'm afraid of rejection, I know I need to go ahead and do. So reactivity is a gift because it's actually, it's an easy way to know what our soul really wants. The reactive nature is teaching us the opposite of what's the desire for our soul.
I think that's a beautiful guidepost because that's literally in every situation, right? Following the reactive calling is not going to lead us to the greatest outcome. And so using that as the guidepost is always going to lead us to, then I hear the voice in my head, well, sometimes both options are difficult. How do we know which one is the right one? And I think at that point, when you do have two options that are both difficult, either one will start the energy, the current of the energy moving. And if it's not the best option, you will be guided to the best option. So I think that's beautiful guidance for this week. And of course, for any time that you're feeling in the space of the desert, or you're feeling the identity crisis, as we called it before. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us on all those platforms so that you can receive more content to support you in living what we share every week. You can also go to weeklyenergyboost.com to search through our archives, send us a message, and click the donate button to help make Weekly Energy Boost possible. But as always, share this episode. Pause right now. Share it to social media, share it by text with friends. Every week we're hearing from more new listeners who say, I can't believe I found you. Thank you so much. And you can be responsible for helping to shine the light in so many more people's lives. Keep it up, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.